here's another little thing about RAM. We go through 12 states. The current route goes through 12 states, 88 counties, and a little over 350 separate communities. We permit the key areas, okay, where we know we'll have a lot of riders on the road. And then most of the rest of the areas, we send notification letters, and we send notification letters to all the law enforcement. That means the local police, the county sheriffs, and the state highway patrol. We also send notification letters to the DOTs, the state departments of transportation, and the chambers of commerce along the route as well. And just remind them we're coming through again. This will be our 32nd year this year, which makes this, by the way, one of the longest running, continuously running bicycle races in America. We send them notification letters. Most everybody's all aware of it, and when you see highway patrol and like, particularly on places like Kansas and that, they're actually there. You know, they've been told you're coming through, and they're there to they're there as fans for one thing. They love to watch the race, and just to see things go smoothly and all that. Once in a while, you will get a law enforcement officer who didn't get the memo, all right? And what will happen is they'll stop, maybe stop you for something, and you know, you'll say, well, you know, this is Race Across America. And they'll go, yeah. And for whatever reason, you didn't get the memo. In general, do what he tells you to do. You know, if he says, do this, pull over, do it this way, don't argue, just do it. But if there's an issue, if it's counter to RAM rules or something, you'll call us, call race headquarters, and they'll, you know, tell you exactly what to do, how to respond, that sort of thing. So, and all this is in the RAM rules, by the way. The RAM rules they're in the route book, and they're also in the gear book, and so you can, I think you can download that gear book now, and the rules come with it. And there are, it looks here, the rules plus the introduction to the rules are 41 pages, all right? You want to read the rules. Now, I can tell you that the rules, every rule is there for a reason. The guideline is, in general, the rules are to ensure safety, a level playing field, and to protect the integrity of the race. Some of the things you will read in those rules, and you will wonder what's wrong with us. Like, why is that in there? One of the rules, for example, is you cannot be attached to the vehicle, the follow vehicle, by an electrical cord or a feeding tube. Now, common sense would tell you that would not be a good thing, but people do this stuff. Everybody's looking for kind of an edge in this thing, inexpensive edge. And man, if you can go through the desert with automatic hydration the whole way, or something like that, you might think that's a great solution. No, it's not. So every time, it's kind of like you know, this country, you write the Constitution, it's pretty simple. You think you got it all in the Constitution, and somebody just tries something a little different. Oh my gosh, now you got to pass a law pretty soon. You get the, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of laws. We can take those RAM rules, all right, and here are the entire RAM rules for our Challenge Series races. They're one page and a little bit more. It's all the basic stuff. No drafting, no hanging on the vehicle, again, common sense. But most of the people in the qualifying races are only in those races for, will be about 18 to 30 hours, okay? And so, we want you to have the basic stuff ingrained in your head. When you go off and race around, you're going to be there for days on end. There's a lot of little things you start thinking about when you can't do those other things. So,
is it 2013?
oh, yeah. Yeah.
When
It should be up. My son, Rick, is the one that does that. He's down in Louisville right now watching the cyclocross world championships. He's texting me these pictures. Oh my God, it's snowing, and he's, so anyway, he'll be back in the office next week. If the 2013 yearbook is not up there yet, it will go up next week.
Any significant changes?
No, not really. It's materially the same, and the route book is materially the same too. And what I would suggest is you won't get the 2013 route book until you show up in Oceanside, because things happen to the route all the way along. Okay, I mean right up till the day. They may start construction on a key piece of the route. Will start at May 1. Well, then we got to go back in and redo all the GPS, all the routes and everything, everything else to compensate for that. So, but if you want to see what's there and get familiar with it, what I would suggest is just go to the RAM store and buy the 2012 book and just make copies of that and distribute it. But no, when you're on the race, you don't want the 2012 route book or 2012 rules anywhere near your race vehicles. In 2009, Yuri Rovich, who was the best Ram racer in history, the guy was just a machine. His crew in 2009, and we didn't know this until it got already, out 3/4 of the way across the country, was using the 2008 route book and 2008 GPS. I guess the crew thought they would save some money or something by using the stuff in the 2008 race. You got 45 minutes of penalties for that, cost of the race. And that should have been his, I guess his 6th Ram win, I think, but 5th Ram win, but it didn't happen. So anyway,
that's just on the back to the back thing. Are there, can you comment on the different configurations? Are there sort of sharing best practices or how, even sourcing of racks?
Yep.
Any thoughts on that?
No, sourcing of racks, you can
buy them certainly, but
anywhere,
are there other options that you can ran across?
Not really, no. I mean, you'll have to buy them. If you don't have them, you can't borrow them from a friend, you'll need to buy them from somewhere. So, I didn't use this kind of a rack, okay, when I raced, but today if I raced, that's what I would use. I would use a roof rack, but I put bikes there that I wasn't going to use, but maybe a specific spot for a certain thing. And most riders, a little tougher, it's a little different with an 8-person, 4-person team you can do it, you can take 2 bikes along. 8-person team is pretty tough to bring 2 bikes. The reality is with 8 people you really shouldn't be, unless you're at the front end of that race, you're going to win, you want to set records, then you're probably going to figure out a way to take the extra bikes. Because you really don't want to be climbing in the Appalachians with a time trial bike, for instance, or vice versa if you can help it. But, for a solo racer, you're going to definitely want to have at least 2 bikes. So I raced with 3, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Best advice I heard is get a rack, bikes don't fall off.
Yep, that's it. That is exactly right.
And that the crew, when they're tired, get them on and off the way.
Exactly. Oh man, there are so many stories about that. Okay, so this was my race, my solo race in '06. That's everything sitting in my garage. at the time what I used, it was a even better alternative to the time trial bike. I wouldn't ride it today for a variety of reasons, but soft ride was geared for the flats. You know, it had 100, I think it had like 128-inch gear on it, so that I wouldn't be, if I had a tailwind, I didn't need to be geared out. You know, I could still be pedaling at 40 miles an hour. You know, conventional gearing is really difficult. I had a aluminum bike, really stiff. I used that for climbing. It was super light. And then I had a carbon bike that was set up for, that's what I did 80% of the riding on. So anyway, and everything's all laid out. And what you'll want to create is a checklist and go through mentally everything you do when you ride your bike. If you bring your bike to the bike shop, think about what you bring it for, and that's what you need to bring on the trip. Okay? And you need a crew that can do everything on the road that people can do in a bike shop. I mean, everything from sleeping, personal hygiene, every kind of weather, everything. Go through the drilling. What do you need to make sure you got a checklist, and then when you get ready to pack, just lay it all on the ground and mentally go through it again and again and again. And that way you'll minimize the things you forget. You think you'll have everything, but you won't.